of the BYU Cougars, Greg Wrubell, on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. He is looking dapper in his office. We're always glad to have him on the show.
We're just going to point at your office this way, if that's all right.
It's up there, it's up there somewhere.
Over there.
Greg, you have one of the more entertaining travel schedules all year, albeit it's a little bit lighter this fall than it usually is.
A little bit.
Yeah, or a lot. What's your go-to medium on a cross-country flight? Like, what are you doing when you're flying across the country?
I'm usually studying boards and writing a pregame script if it's not already written, catching a little shut-eye, and maybe seeing what's on live television at that point. I'm not a big movies guy. Occasionally, if the right one pops up on the Delta selection panel, it might intrigue me. But usually, flights and hotel room stays are more work than anything. And so I end up doing a lot of prep and a lot of additional prep and research and memory drills and those kinds of things on those flights. They're good for that. You get isolation, you get focus, and you can really lock in on stuff. So that's what I tend to do.
But there's always time for a classic like Hot Rod or something like that, right?
Just like that. Just like that.
In the court of preparation,
thank you, Jarom Jordan, for introducing me to that.
Oh,
a couple years ago.
Listen, half of our Satake show prep is discussing old SNL sketches. So anyway, yeah. Okay, let's talk about what would constitute a special season. We just talked about how it is special that BYU is playing at all, right? Utah and Utah State, which is they were playing today against BYU and Washington State, respectively, both Cougars, I guess, right? But BYU's playing. That's awesome. But on the field, competitively, this schedule, what would constitute a special season?
Well, it's an 8-game season with now I haven't seen lines on the other games, but we know that Navy's a pick'em, and the rest, you might say BYU'd be, logically, favored to win. So if BYU were not to open the season with a win, but then go 7-1, they would have done the things they were supposed to do, you could say. And so if Navy's the one game where there's some doubt as to whether BYU can get it done, and they win that, well, I think now you're looking at special season category. It's a little harsh to say that 7-1 wouldn't be special, but with this schedule, you really would have just done the things you're expected to do. And so the Navy game kind of, swings it a little bit. And it's tough to tell what every team's going to look like by the end of the year right now. But, yeah, I think a lot rides on it. I think if, that's the game that helps you become a story, right? Because everybody's watching on Monday Night Football. It's the only game around. You're the only team in the West playing all season long at this point. If you make a good showing that night, well, you're something to think about now. And if you get through September without a loss, now you're a bit of a story heading into the next phase of the season. And so the longer BYU can stay, again, topical and a story of sorts in this most unusual seasons, the better. And so a lot does hinge on just getting out of the gates right. And, yeah, with 8 games that are currently on the schedule, you'd like to think BYU is good enough to win them all.
Greg, with national rankings really guiding that relevance conversation for BYU because they don't have a conference, and if they get ranked, then you are relevant and your highlights are seen on SportsCenter. Let's say that they start 2-0. At that point, in the modified 76 teams that are playing, would that be enough to get BYU into the top 25?
I think some of it depends on how they look in doing that, but they're going to have the stage, right? They're going to be on ESPN, Monday Night Football for their first game, and they're going to be on CBS, coast to coast, in the SEC time slot in the second game. So there will be a lot of people, rankers and otherwise, watching to see what this BYU team looks like. And again, it's a great opportunity, guys, because of their unique status as the only Western team playing college football. They represent half of the country. Not that everyone in the half of the country is going to be cheering for BYU, but it's geographically BYU's game right now and BYU's opportunity to take hold of. So there's some really unique and positive potential developments as a result of this entire crazy situation. And so BYU represents more than just, it's a little pocket of fandom right now. There's a potential to become a story for a large, swath of the country, which is pretty cool. And you think about it, with so much discussion about independence over the years, it's the one reason BYU is playing football this weekend, the fact that BYU is an independent. If they were members of a conference, they'd be on the shelf with everybody else right now. And it's not that BYU's, has had to break rules to be where they are. They're obeying the rules that everybody wants every other team to obey to be able to play. But by doing that and committing to it and having that independent status, they have this ability to have a unique and potentially special season one way or the other.
Being single is good sometimes, says BYU football. And when you look at the relevance thing, I think you make a great point too. Because I think, okay, how do we quantify relevance? We've always said the top 25. Another one is this: you're being discussed, you're being talked about. There are fewer games the first couple of weeks. So guess who's going to be talked about on game day every week and on College Football Live and all these shows? It's BYU. So the opportunity that BYU has, and they do have a bye week in week 2, but BYU is basically going to play, 7 of their 8 games in the first 9 weeks. They gotta jump out quick, and there's no Power Fives. There's an opportunity here to make a splash quickly.
Yeah, and BYU Navy are actually the marquee names of opening weekend, right? And they're saving it to Monday Night Football. We all know that Labor Day weekend is saved for that Monday. It's 2 big name teams playing on that Monday night. Now, because all those conferences are waiting till later in the month, it falls to and ESPN brokers this thing, of course, but they put BYU and Navy as the marquee game of the opening weekend of college football to cap off on Labor Day night. It's a great opportunity. Again, if BYU looks good right there, yeah, they are discussed about because BYU is a name, of a lot of these teams playing, with a lot of P5 leagues sitting out, BYU becomes one of the bigger names to lump in with those P5 programs if the Cougars can start strong. And again, it's been a while since BYU's been able to be a story or talked about in the month of October. What a great opportunity this year to have to beat Navy, Army, and Troy to be in that position.
Greg Wrubell, the voice of the Cougars, with us on BYU Sports Nation. Let's switch gears now and talk about something that's not as exciting, but really quite devastating to BYU football, and losing Matt Bushman for the season. Just an absolute gut punch to the potential offensive production that BYU could have. That said, Jarom and I, in our discussions, kind of feel like BYU has enough playmakers to maybe make amends for that. How do you see the group of players behind Matt Bushman filling that void that he leaves behind?
Well, there's a good number of targets to make up, and it could be that the shift moves a little bit from his position to the wideouts, and maybe the backs see a few more targets. And I really do think, this can be an Isaac Rex breakout season. He was already going to be good as the number 2 to Matt. He's just got to be better sooner, and I think he's got the ability to do that. And so there are targets to be had, but I think, again, this could be the year where the wideouts see more of them. Let's not forget, last year's leading target or last year's leading receiver in terms of catches was a wide receiver. Bushman had the more yards by a smidge, but the leading receptor was a wide receiver. That can be the case again, and I think will be the case this year, in part due to necessity. I mean, Bushman was going to be a legitimate and justified target hog. Without him, you can look other places, and I think there are guys to look to that can get the job done.
At running back, it feels like BYU is a little thin right now. How concerned are you since Devontae Henry Cole transferred, Bruce Garrett left the team, and now Hinckley Ropati is reportedly out for the year?
Yeah, BYU really did a great job at deepening that room, and all the depth that they brought in is now gone. And so it's last year's guys all over again. Not a bad thing if they can play, 8 or 10 or 12 or 13 games, whatever that number ends up being, as long as the two main guys in that group, if not one workhorse guy, can be an every game guy, BYU can be okay. That's been the challenge, is finding an every game guy. You really have to go back to Jamal Williams to find an every game guy that could be a workhorse back for BYU. It's been injury and departure and rotation and any number of reasons to keep a true standout from emerging. But if those guys who are last year's guys, and they are this year's guys again, are back and healthy, BYU can have a very strong running back core. But can they just get a big number of games out of that group is the question, because they have the people to do it. But, can BYU keep consistency in the backfield remains the question. And it's been that way at quarterback too. Having quarterbacks and running backs who can play every game together and not have to go 3 and 4 and 5 deep between, the collection of bodies means a lot.
Greg, you have been meticulously putting together your play-by-play boards and have really dived into the matchups. So when you look at those boards,
he's grabbing the boards. They're right here.
It's a thing of beauty. Like, it really is a thing of beauty. As you look at those boards, which matchup is the most intriguing from BYU and Navy?
Well, it's going to be just how different BYU looks maybe on defense in week 1 than BYU does in week 3 or 6 or 7 in terms of how they play. Navy is going to make you play a defense unlike the one you're going to need really the rest of the season. And so you might see really important players in week 1 defensively, not necessarily be super important players in week 3. But, man, they wouldn't have won that game in week 1 without those guys being as good at tackling as they were or as strong at staying disciplined as they were. And they may not be the marquee names that might emerge later in the year, but that's going to be the case, I think, in week 1, probably week 2, with Army posing a similar challenge. And so really you're not going to expect Dalen Morris to do all the things Malcolm Perry did. But if the quarterback is eating up the kinds of chunks of yards that Perry did last year, that's not going to be good. And if they can somehow find a way to tamp that position down just a bit, if not a lot, that's going to be integral for BYU in week 1. So I guess I'm trying to see how well the quarterback runs in week 1 compared to what Navy got out of that position last year, because it was a huge number.
Greg, great to catch up with you, man. It's going to be a unique experience, to say the least, as you watch a game in such a heralded stadium and setting with no fans. But we know you're going to bring it professionally, so we appreciate what you do. And we're already working on your next movie recommendation for the cross-country flight, so we'll get that to you later.
I'll look for that from Jarom. And I will say this. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different. Our broadcast crew is a little smaller in size this year by necessity, and there will be no fans in the stands. But, Shakespeare wrote, the play's the thing. And the plays are going to be what matters most on Monday night. And we hope there are great, productive scoring plays for BYU to bring to our radio audience. I'm looking forward to calling plays again. It's been a long time since I've been on the headset. And so the play's the thing. And we got plays coming your way on Monday. I look forward to it.
Love it. Thanks so much for the time, Greg.
You bet, guys. Thanks.
Greg Wrubell on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, you know why, we show how.
Look at Greg dropping